Hey guys, it's Brenton here in the kitchen again. Today we're going to be making shepherd's pie with ground lamb. Let's get started with our ingredients. I'm going to be using ground lamb for this recipe. You could also use ground beef, but I'm going to go a little bit more traditional, the Irish way with ground lamb. And I'm going to be using 1 pound. You can use a little bit more. Typically you want to use between 1 and 2 pounds, depending on how many people you're feeding. And I should mention I have one pan here where I'm going to brown the meat, one pot for the mashed potatoes, and then this is a cast iron casserole dish, which I'm going to be making the shepherd's pie in when I put it in the oven. So those are the three I'm going to use for this recipe. I have some cheese here that I'm going to spread on at the end. I have 3 large carrots, 3 large russet potatoes. You're going to want a couple pounds of those, 1 sweet yellow onion, some garlic, some half and half. You could also use milk or cream for the potatoes, 1 stick of butter. For our fresh herbs, we have rosemary and thyme. I'm going to use in 1 can of peas. I have a 6-ounce can of tomato paste. I'm going to use about half of that, so 3 ounces. And just some salt and black pepper and some Worcestershire sauce. Cool, so let's get started. So I started by peeling and cutting the potatoes, and I put it in a pot of cold water. And I'm just going to set it on the burner. And I'm going to bring that up to a boil. And I should say I'm just going to add a little bit of salt in here. And once it comes up to a boil, I'm going to let it simmer for about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to prep some of the other vegetables by cutting them up. And we're going to get started in a moment with browning the ground lamb. Okay, so I just added some olive oil to this pan, and I'm just going to add the lamb right into the pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix that in for about 5 minutes to brown it, and I'll be right back. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes and the lamb has browned, and you can see that it's released quite a bit of grease into the pan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drain most of that out. I'm going to leave a baby bit to absorb in the vegetables, but I'm going to drain most of that out right now. And I should also show you simultaneously the potatoes are simmering over here and they're almost done. So I'll be right back after I drain out the grease. So now that I've drained the majority of the grease, I'm going to add the carrots and onion right into the pan. And I'm going to mix that in, and I'm going to cook it for about 10 minutes for the vegetables to soften. Then I'm going to check back in on it. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes and the veggies are starting to soften up. So what I'm going to do at this point is add the tomato paste. I'm going to do about half a can, so that's 3 ounces. And I'm also going to add the fresh rosemary, thyme, and garlic. I'm going to mix that in and give it a couple more minutes, and then finally I'll add the peas at the very end. And at this point it's a good time to preheat your oven. We're going to be working at 400 degrees. And in a moment I'm going to finish up the mashed potatoes, so I'll be right back to show you how to do that. So the potatoes finished cooking. What I did was I drained them and added a half a cup of butter, and I'm going to start with about a cup of cream, or half and half. And I'm going to mix them up, and depending on how thick we like them, I may add a little bit more cream. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to mix them up, and I'll show you where they're at in a moment, and I'll be right back. Okay, so a cup of cream was plenty for the potatoes. I just tested them. They're really good. I also cracked some black pepper on them. So to finish up the rest of the mix, I'm going to add some peas into the lamb and veggies that were already in the pan here. And I'm going to add a baby bit of Worcestershire sauce. Just going to splash a little bit around on the lamb there. And I'm going to give that another minute or so, mix it in, and then we're ready to transfer this into the cast iron casserole dish and put it in the oven. Okay, so I've begun transferring all the mix into the casserole dish. So I put in the lamb and veggies on the bottom, and right now I'm just spreading the mashed potatoes over the top, so I'm almost done with that. And the final step, we're just going to add some cheese, some shredded cheese right on the top of the potatoes. And if you want, you can add a little bit more salt and pepper, but I did that earlier when I was making the mashed potatoes. So I'm using cheddar cheese. It's probably more common to use Parmesan, but feel free to use whatever cheese you like. I think it's just a nice touch to add on to the shepherd's pie. So now I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm putting the pie in the oven. Again, it's 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to cook it for about a half an hour. All right, so a half hour went by and I just pulled the shepherd's pie right out of the oven and it smells really good. I'm gonna let it set for about 10 minutes and then I'm gonna cut and serve and I'll show you the final product. Okay, and this is our final product, shepherd's pie. I hope you guys really liked it. Please like and subscribe.